My name is Carl Greatrix. I'm the original designer for the Caterham 620R Lego Idea set. The whole thing started, if you look at the book there, I had no intention of ever making this set specifically to put onto the Lego Ideas platform. The green car in the book was a model that I built just purely for myself. And that was built for a good 6 months. And it was actually at this show 2 years ago at the XL, where there was 85,000 people through the door, and it seemed to be every one of those people owned a Caterham and saw that model and said, how on earth can I get one for myself? I want a model like that in Lego of my car. So that made me sort of look at the realisticness of, because obviously that model was built for myself. It's full of illegal A-fold connections. It's extremely weak. And I sat there and looked at it and looked at the compromises that I thought would have to be made if we wanted to try and put it onto the Ideas platform. And we thought, yeah, it's probably doable. You know, obviously it's not going to be as detailed. There's going to have to be some design compromises with it. But we thought, you know what, it may be possible to rework it. So on, I think it was December the 4th, which was a couple of days after I got back from the XL show, decided to put it on at night time on the Ideas platform. And as it happened, I just put photos on and I said, yeah, you know, we'll look at trying to redesign it, rework it, bring it more in line with the standard sort of Lego standard for building. And I think it was Top Gear website, they picked up on it the day it went on. So overnight, we literally got 800 to 1,000 votes. The next day, a blogging site called Jalopnik, they picked up on it. We got about another 1,000 votes overnight. So on the third day, I thought, well, blimey, you know, we've hit about 2,000 votes, or 1,500 votes, 2,000 within a couple of days. Maybe I should start speaking to Caterham, because it looks like this thing could actually go the full round. So I emailed Caterham, got in touch with one of the head guys there, and he said that, yes, they'd seen it from the day it went on, and they'd emailed the entire Caterham factory and said, go on and vote for it. We want this to happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty special, and Caterham have been fantastic to work with. You know, they've been so behind the project from the word go. So then it's really... well, I certainly didn't expect the amount of work that was going to be involved in trying to obtain the 10,000 votes. You know, I was blinkered. I just put the idea on there and thought, well, all I do now is I sit back and wait for the votes to come in. It doesn't happen like that at all. So we did everything very organically, and it was all down to just trying to promote it, watching when the votes were starting to fall, doing big sort of pushes on PR and social media. And also, along with doing that, actually then started to redesign these models to bring the car more back into, you know, having more strength, using only current production parts in current production colours, to just bring everything back to it. You know, if it was to be chosen, all these cars here, they all look the same. Obviously, they're different versions of different Caterhams, but they're all built completely differently internally. So it was just to throw a few more ideas in the mix. And interestingly, you know, when it did go through, Lego asked me to send over some of my initial concept models, and they've sort of chosen bits and pieces out of each one, thrown it into the mix, and also obviously they've put some of their own design aspects in there as well. And you know, the final result is absolutely brilliant. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then we have a model of the real car over here. So if you can just give, for people who aren't familiar with it, maybe a brief history of the real car and kind of what attracted you to that when you first created the model.
Yeah, I mean, Caterham, it's a car that's always stuck out in my mind since the first day I went out and tracking them. You know, they're so lightweight, they're so powerful, and they are just tremendous fun. They really are. And also the sort of old classic design shape of them, it just lends itself almost perfectly to be built out of Lego. That's why I sort of chose it in the first place. I thought, you know, if I can get around the problem with the front wheels and the arches, if I can get that sorted, the rest of it will almost fall into place. A nice big bonnet to be able to take off and cram a load of details in, which is exactly what I wanted for my own model. So that's sort of why I built it. And then, obviously, as it's been chosen, Caterham wanted their flagship model. So the real car that we've got here now is the 620R. That's one of the fastest cars in the world.
Yeah. And so once the project hit 10,000 votes, what was the process like after that? Did you then start, once they decided to make this an official Lego set, were you working with designers at Lego, or how did that work?
Yeah. I mean, when we got the 10,000 votes, I think we just missed a review period by about a week. So we had the best part of 3 months to wait until the next review period. So that's a bit of an anticlimax when you're so busy trying to promote getting the 10,000 votes. So you're literally doing something every night with that. It's almost like having a second job. And then once you actually hit those votes, everything just goes flatline. It's quite. I don't know how to describe it best, but it really does feel like a bit disheartening almost,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because you go from being so busy down to just doing nothing. And I wasn't prepared for that. You just think, what else can I do now? But you just can't. All you can do is sit there and wait, and the not knowing is. It's not the best.
Right, I imagine. Yeah, you've like you said, done all this work, and now you have to wait almost 3 months for the next review.
Yeah, and then obviously when it goes into review, you have a further 3 months to wait for the review period. But luckily, on the night that I signed the NDAs to go into the review process, Lego emailed me and said, "Can we ring you now?" And so they rang me and they said, "Yeah, this is ideally our first choice. So can you send some of your models over to us so we can start working and having a look at them and see if we can get this to go through? There could be 101 reasons why it won't be possible, but we really want to try and go with it." So that was fantastic. So it was also nice for me to know at that stage I didn't actually have to wait the full 3 months of the review period. Then after it was sort of announced, or maybe it wasn't, I can't remember the way it all went now, but I saw that it was announced to me definitely about half the way through that it's 100% going through. So that was good. And then they flew me over to Billund, and I actually sat down and worked with the designer as well for 3 or 4 hours, and the same with the box art designer as well. So you have an amount of say with how everything's done with it. So yeah, it's a cool process.
Yeah, that's nice. So they keep you involved. They don't just once it hit 10,000, you aren't cut out of the process, and then they take over.
Yeah, no, they try and keep you on board with it. It was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So we have the set over here. If you can maybe take a look at this and point out kind of some of the where it changed from your original design and how that evolved as the process went along.
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious thing is the lack of steering now. There's been many reasons why that's happened, and obviously I've been reading feedback from all the fans that have been seeing it since the set's been announced. If it was going to have steering put into it, it makes the whole building process more complex. The price of actually just producing the instructions as well becomes more expensive. The model will become weaker as well. I think it actually frustrates some children as well if they can't just pick it up and push it along. If the wheels are then allowed to be angled, it can frustrate them a little more. And also, if you take examples like the Mini, the new Beetle, the F40 Ferrari, the camper van, they've all got fixed steering. It's just the thing with models at this scale. It's sort of how Lego go with it nowadays. So I'm fairly sure if they had kept the steering in it, the set would have been over £100 probably. So there has to be compromises somewhere. But as the base model, if you want to then start working it up and put steering back into it, it's a superb base model to start with. Everything is there. They've kept a lot of my design sort of ideas in for having the removable engine, removable seats, because ultimately it is a kit of a kit car. So that's what we were trying to replicate. And Lego, they've even kept in all the original foot pedals that we had as well. So I'm over the moon with actually what they've done with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are there any particular pieces that you are really happy were included in the final kit, like pieces that you think builders will find useful if they buy the kit?
Oh yeah, I mean, this thing is a tremendous parts pack. And that was something I was quite keen to try and push as well. Is not only will it be a cool model, but people that are building it, or sorry, buying it, if they're not necessarily interested in the car itself, at least maybe they'll buy it for the parts pack, you know. And now we've got the best of both worlds. And some of the new parts that they've put into this, I'm blown away with. If I'd known these parts were going to exist, I would have obviously used them on the exhaust and the roll bar. So I was very surprised when I went over to Billund and I saw this with the parts they were using. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it sounded like the project went really well for you. So do you have other ideas, projects right now, or any plans in the future to submit more projects that people can vote on?
No, it's as I said, this was never designed intentionally to go on the Ideas platform. It was built as my own model. So my plans now are to hopefully go back and just build models for myself again. You know, I've done what I wanted to do. I've got this out for everybody that was expressing an interest in it, and it's now there. You know, so job done. Perfectly happy.
Yeah, there you go. Is car models something that you do a lot of with Lego building, or what's your typical kind of genre that you build in?
Yeah, it sort of is now. It surprises me because a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, we know you for your cars," but I was actually probably more well known for my trains.
Okay.
I built a lot of trains when I came back into the scene, but I've got to a point now where there's nothing else train-wise that I want to build, so I ran out of options. And then my other passion has always been cars. So I thought, okay, let's have a go at a few cars. I did some F1s, some old sort of 1970s F1 cars, and then the Caterham was sort of the next progression for me with that. And I've also done planes and helicopters as well. I have sort of transport theme, you know. I'm a typical bloke in that respect.
Well, very nice. Congratulations on the project, you know, becoming a set and everything. I think it turned out really nice, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about it. Thank you.
Thank you.